Hi, this is Dave Steinberg. Welcome to the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. Our guest today is Marco Gomez. Marco is a top realtor with EXP Realty in Long Island, and he is the go-to guy for so many realtors around the country who need to refer their family, their friends, their clients to someone on Long Island. Long Island broadly stated, right? Because you do
Yeah, it's broadly
focus on
speaking.
Nassau County, but you do the whole island, Brooklyn,
Yep.
Queens, Long Island.
Nassau, Queens, the eastern part of Brooklyn, and we now have agents on our team that are covering the Bronx as well. So we've expanded, and
Mm.
it's definitely been great, Dave. Yeah.
So, Marco, what is it about the way you do business that gives other realtors confidence in referring their clients to
I would say that the main thing, Dave, is that we have a team, so they can count on the fact that even though I will speak to the buyer or seller initially, um, we have a transaction coordinator in place that makes sure everything is taken care of, contract to close. We have three other admin on our team that help. So operationally, they know that their customer, the referral is going to get taken care of. And on the sales side, myself, Craig, Christina, and some of the agents on our team, the newer ones, we're there supporting each other. So for example, like I just happened to go to a client event, not a client event, well, I call it client because I treat all my agents around the country like clients. I was out in California for the black and white party that I helped start several years ago with two other agents from the New York area. And while I was away, the agents on my team stepped in and made sure that anyone that I was speaking with was got into properties or that the contracts moved along. And so there was nothing missed. So when people refer me, they know that it's being taken care of, and we make sure that at the end of the day, their clients feel happy. And the worst thing in the world is when someone refers anyone, whether it's an agent or an attorney or a lender like yourself, you don't want your referral to ever come back to you and be like, that was the worst referral that you could have ever given me, because that's horrible. So not that everyone's always going to click, but at least if there's communication and we reach back out to the agent and be like, look, I don't think this is a great fit, maybe you should refer someone else, and that's fine. Sometimes you have to do that because not everyone gels. But we also communicate with the agents. Like I literally just got back to an agent last week that referred to someone a year ago, and I'm like, look, this person is still not ready to make a decision on selling. So, and they're like, great, thanks for letting us know. Or, someone else reached out to me and said, hey, what's going on? I said, hey, look, we've been in touch with this person, and it looks like they're going to end up going with a friend. And not always the greatest move, but so communication, the fact that we, from a team aspect, we make sure everyone's covered, and we back each other up when one of us is away. So that's really why we get referred.
you. And that should give a lot of people confidence. I know that when I talk to people around the country, your name comes up a lot. And we have a lot of friends in common, and I know that people around the country think very highly of you and have a lot of confidence in referring to you.
Thanks, Dave. No, that makes me feels great. I mean, and it's put in a lot of effort. We consciously make sure that we, you know, cement those relationships and that we're always developing new ones. Um, and again, it's like anything else, staying in touch with people. Like, how we always talk about database in our industry, you know, so few agents in real estate consider other realtors as part of their database, which really is just a huge mistake because it's a missed opportunity. And, we have millions of real estate agents around the country. So when people say, oh, well, someone like myself is already getting referrals in New York, well, I can't do it. Sure, you can, because you can either look at the company level, whether you're in a company like mine, like EXP, or whether you're at Keller Williams or Remax, you have conventions to go to there. You have the NAR convention every year. You have Tom Ferry, Jeff Glover's, which I go to. There's so many different opportunities to go network with agents and really create your own tribe. I mean, you create your tribe, and that's what you work off. And like if someone, for example, connects with you and says, hey, Dave, do you know other agents around the country? Actually, I do. And then you can be the one that connects them, and they can go and create a tribe. So but again, creating that tribe is one thing, right? But then you have to make sure you network with them. And some of these people really become friends. Like I was recently in Mexico with a good friend of mine out of Minnesota, Katie Bean, and another one from Atlanta, Georgia, Janice Baldwin. And we were hanging out. We were just having a good time. We were masterminding, looking at some opportunities down in Mexico. And we just had a great time. We've become friends. It's
Mhm.
just, some of the friends were going on a cruise in April and we're masterminding on a cruise. So you build those relationships. And as you grow together, people always want to refer to people that other people trust. So like in our industry, an agent that's new into business, 2 years, if they have a referral in New York, or let's say a client is moving to Georgia and they have a house in New York, most likely they don't have an opportunity to sorry about that, they don't have an opportunity to have meet other agents from New York. But if they speak to someone in their office, they'll say, oh, who do you know in New York? And an agent like my friend Janice will say, call Marco. And that's an opportunity. So that's what you do. So you create those relationships and foster them. And I think I was telling you earlier, I literally flew into a party that I started 3 years ago with a good friend of mine from Manhattan, Melissa, and a good friend of mine in Westchester, Eva Marie Casoria, and Ellen from New Jersey. So the four of us started this party called the Black and White when we were all at Keller Williams, and we would have hundreds of agents there. And rather than nickel and dime the agents, like, oh, you got to pay $100 to come to our event, we threw a party, black and white themed, DJ, open bar, food, and everyone loved it. And everyone made new relationships, connected. So it's, creating that. And again, we throw client events for our clients, but why not throw events for our realtors that refer us? So,
And meeting them is half the battle. But I've got to believe that it's your ability to deliver that wins day in and day out, and your ability to, first of all, your understanding of the market. You're a master of New York, of Long Island, and Queens, and I guess a little bit of Brooklyn. Right,
yeah,
I know you from the Long Island
right.
and Queens days. And often when I'm around the country and I talk to people about New York, oh, do you know Marco? He's my guy in Long Island. And I think it's the fact that you've put together a team with Greg is a great guy, and you have
Absolutely.
you've achieved the consistency and an excellence that really carries through.
Oh, 100%. I think it's if you're a solo agent, obviously you're doing everything yourself, and it's really hard to deliver all the time. So you have to limit, the size of your database, right? Like I talk about this with a lot of people at masterminds. It's people accumulate leads from Zillow and all these other lead sources over the years, but they never really stay on top of them. And then all of a sudden they have a database of 3 or 4 thousand. If you're going to manage 3 or 4 thousand leads, you literally need like at least 8 to 10 people to get through those names to begin with. Because realistically, you're not calling, 500 people a week. It's just, unless you're not doing anything else. So it's the same thing with realtors, right? If you're going to go and meet a group of 100, great. That's a good sized group. And it's one that you have to love on. I mean, I don't see everyone every year, but I stay in touch. I use a system to stay in touch with them called Do the Database 2, DTD2, where we reach out to them via their last name. Makes it easy to stay in touch. I also send out Girl Scout cookies to my top referral partners around the country. So literally, I think it costs more to ship the cookies than the actual cookies cost. But my daughter really likes it because she's one of the top Girl Scout sellers in the country, I think, or at least in the New York area. But it's little things like that, and it's just acknowledging people. Just as an example, it's like I have there's an agent around the country. He sent me, I don't know if you can see this. This was a little coaster that an agent sent me. So one of my kids' pictures on Facebook, and just sent me a note. Hey, I saw this picture. Thought you might want this to memorialize your trip. So it's doing things like that. Taking a picture when you're at a convention, and just printing it out at Walgreens and throwing it in a card and just saying, hey, it was so great connecting with you. I just wanted you to have this picture that we took, right?
Mm.
Because so few people do that nowadays. It's just a personal touch. And so it's just really treating those relationships like you do your past clients.
Mm. What tips do you have for realtors around the country who have a family member moving to New York?
You know, the biggest challenge that people face when they're moving here from anywhere else in the country is, you know, our price point. Here in New York, similar to California, we have a lot of, you know, higher average price point. Like, just to give you an idea, if someone were to move to like Nassau County, you know, the average price point for a single family home is 867,000, you know, which a year ago was like 822, and then it was in the mid sevens 2 years ago. So it's jumped up substantially. So it's really making sure they speak to a lender. Like, for example, connect with Dave Steinberg, make sure you can get pre-approved, because people think that, oh, well, I'm selling my house for 450 in Georgia, as an example, and I want to go buy a similar size home in New York. And number one, the home sizes here are a lot smaller than a lot of these big subdivisions around the country. Our property taxes are one of the highest in the country, and not being prepared financially or to know what to set their expectations. So we always tell everyone looking to move here, you really need to connect with a lender. And it really should be a local lender, because I think a lot of people sometimes go in and say, oh, well, my lender, you know, or they want to use like Rocket Mortgage, or they want to use this. And I'm like, you really need a lender on the ground. And I'm sure you could definitely speak to this, obviously, that really knows what's going on in the market here and knows what guidelines for specific programs. It's just a lot of nuances. And we are an attorney state. A lot of agents think that, oh, here's the biggest thing too that you're asking now, what do they need to know? In New York, it's not 30 days or under to close. And we don't close. Like, if someone says, oh, well, I'm looking to close on or about, you know, March 2nd, that means we may close up to April 2nd. You know, whereas in Georgia and Florida and these other states, the contract says you're closing on a certain date, you close on that date. So, you know, we explain everything to them. And that's another thing that we really strive to do, is have that consultation with someone looking to move here. Let's explain the process to you, because it's different than Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, all these other states. And, you know, so it's really just setting expectations up front, knowing how to prepare them for a move here. That's really what other agents, you know, need to know, is just there's a lot of different moving parts here in New York that other realtors around the country don't have. Like, number one,
Co-ops.
let's not get started on co-ops. That could be like a 2-hour thing. It's the co-ops is another one. But yeah, it just for simple things, like in most states, real estate agents order title, right? They do the escrow themselves, and they write the contract. So those are two big moving pieces that they control, that we do not here. Neither you nor I control those here in New York. So yeah, that's what I would recommend anyway. Set expectations up front to anyone moving to New York.
Mm. Marco, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. This has been a lot of fun. Boy, if you're if you're from outside the New York area and you're looking for a great realtor to do business with, to trust your family member or your friends with, can't recommend Marco too highly. This has been the Mortgage Made Easy podcast, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
This is your mortgage guy, Dave Steinberg. We're sitting with Marco. Let me try that again.
No problem.
This is your mortgage guy. This is your mortgage guy, Dave Steinberg, and this is the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. We're here with Marco Gomez. Marco is one of the top realtors on Long Island and Queens. He does Brooklyn as well, and now moving into the Bronx. And if you're buying a home or selling a home in Queens or Long Island, I can't recommend Marco highly enough. Marco, is this a good time to buy a home in Long Island?
You know, Dave, I get that question asked quite often lately, and I would say now's probably been one of the best times in the last several years. And here's the biggest reason why. The competition is less. In the last 2 years, rates were so low that people were overbidding. So a house that was listed at 750 was selling for 850. There was 50 to 100 people waiting online for hours just to get in the door. They were waiving home inspections, waiving appraisals. I mean, you saw the craziness that was going on. So the competition was so fierce that you would spend months looking for something, and people were buying out of desperation. Now, okay, rates are a little bit higher, but these are the rates that we had back in 2006, 2007. I remember when my wife and I bought a house back in '07, we got a 6.5 rate. We're like, that's a great rate. People keep forgetting that these are still some of the lowest rates in history. And now it's just a normal market. It's a balanced market. There's enough supply that we're under 5 months supply right now. So if I'm a buyer looking to buy, I don't have to wait 4 hours to get in a house in the freezing cold. I can make an appointment and go see it. Perfect example is we had a buyer this past weekend that we've been speaking to for some time. They had someone they knew that was already in the mortgage industry, so they were already pre-approved. And when we went to look, we showed them 4 houses. They made an offer on one. We actually negotiated it down, believe it or not. It's a crazy thing, right? And at the end of the week, they did the home inspection, and the contracts are being signed in the next 2 days. In the last 2 years, that wouldn't have occurred. It's like you literally had to sign a contract the next day, because in New York, unlike other states, the attorney does the contract. So it's not like an agent or a broker can write up the contract on the spot. It doesn't work that way. So you had the fear of loss of losing that property. So now is, in my opinion, a great time to buy a home. And also, if you're a seller, I mean, you don't have to worry about like, oh, there's 100 people coming through my house. And so many deals were falling out also because when people make an offer so high over asking, they go home and think about it, and then they back out because they have that opportunity, right? Because the contract's not written right away, or if the house doesn't appraise. So now it's just a normal real estate market, and the market's still high. I mean, right now, on average, house prices are still, like, just to give you an idea, if you were to look at Queens County, we're still 8% over where we were a year ago. And
Probably 18% over 2 years ago.
So yeah, I was gonna say, because if we look at last year, and we were 10% over the year before that. So in total, we're over almost 19% in total. So it's still a high market, and it's not the fear that's been out there in the media that, oh, home prices are gonna drop. We haven't had that happen. So it's not like prices plummeted, and that's not occurred. So home prices are still very high. If you have equity in your home, now's a great time, especially if you're looking to relocate to an area down south, you're looking to retire or cash out your equity and downsize, or you don't have plans yet. I mean, pull out your money now and maximize it and go somewhere else. And then not only that, if you're going to relocate, right, Dave, I'd rather sell now and have less competition on the purchase side so I don't get caught up in the mayhem. So yeah, it's a great time.
So let's say I want to buy a home. What do I need to know? What do I need to know? I'm buying a house in Garden City.
Sure.
What are the steps that you would walk me through?
Well, number one, we'd walk you through a buyer consultation, outlining the process. And always the most important step in that process is getting pre-approved, right? So you would say, let's say, speak to Dave Steinberg, right? Get pre-approved. He's going to let you know what the maximum pre-approval is. And also in that, with a misconception that we explain to people is in that pre-approval number, there's a certain tax amount in there. Because if you're looking to buy in Garden City and you were originally looking, let's say in Seaford, right? The Garden City taxes are a lot higher. So you need to make sure that you're working with your lender and saying, look, I'm looking to shift my search here. The average tax price is here. So what's my all-in payment? Once they understand what that is, then okay, we got that step done. Then we're looking at properties, and we always tell everyone, what are the top 5 things in a house? Because realtors always make this mistake of saying, oh, tell me everything you want in a home. Listen, we're not going to find you your dream home. We're not building it, on spec or anything like that here. You're buying existing housing that's older stock. So we just ask for the top five. Like, what are your deal breakers? Is it having a finished basement? Is it having a 2-car garage? Is it having 3 bathrooms? What are the deal breakers? From there, we explain that when we go look at homes, we're going to look at properties that we've picked based on what you've explained and told us that are your must-haves. Then we're going to negotiate the price of the home. We're going to submit an offer. And when we submit an offer, and you deal with a lot of realtors, they just submit an offer without anything. They don't even call you. And then all of a sudden they're scrambling. We make sure they're pre-approved. And the most important thing in this market with changing rates is that pre-approval is dated within the last 2 to 3 weeks. That's key with this changing environment.
Mhm.
And then we include usually pay stubs or a W-2 because we want to make our buyer's offer stand out. Most agents are too afraid to have that conversation with the buyers. And you can't because you're working for them. You're trying to get them into a home. So once we get our offer accepted, then from there we go to the appraisal. The home inspection. Then from there, contracts, and the buyer always signs first. And we explain that they're going to have to put a down payment check. Then the seller signs. And then after that, we give the contract back to you. Then you're going to order the appraisal and then get the commitment letter. And we explain that that's generally a 30-day process. It could be less depending on how fast their attorney works and how fast their attorney orders title. If their attorney,
Marco,
yeah,
just to tell you how we work, 24 hours for underwriting approval in 80% of the cases, 10 days to clear commitment. Just to realign your thought process.
Well, I give people the generalization of all lenders. Not everyone's as quick as you, Dave. You're right. So when they're reaching out to you, they know that in under 15 days, they could have everything wrapped up, which if that all happens in line with the attorney and they were to order title at the time of contract, then you could be closing in under 30 days here in New York, which is a rarity. And it's a rarity because most attorneys don't order title until they have a commitment. So,
and you and I both know that depending on the town, the some of the searches could take 3 or 4 weeks, and that's what really, it's a hurry up and wait process sometimes. But
and post COVID, it's once we got into the COVID environment, everything slowed down. It's just been ridiculously slow. And you're right, like you can get everything done in 10 days, and then you're right, we're waiting for another 3 to 4 weeks just for title to come back. So, but we manage those expectations. So we let people know what to expect and we're keeping them informed. That's the most important thing. Communication is a key in our industry, and a lot of agents just treat it like, well, it's in the attorney and the lender's hand now. Not so. If you want to keep a client for life and beat the NAR statistics that say that the odds of that person buying with you or selling with you again is not going to happen, what you need to do is just make sure you're constantly in communication and delivering that experience and, having the right team. Like, if someone's working with you, they need to know exactly what's going on your end so that you're all on the same front and letting the client know what's going on and working with the attorney. We're working, in a collaborative environment. Too many people try to treat this as an adversarial relationship, which is, there's no need for that. We're all working towards a common goal.
We one of the things that I propose, or I'm a proponent of, is the dream team concept, where everyone's on the same page, everyone's talking to each other. We're all trying to help the client get the best possible result. And, I know that when I talk to you, you lead with your heart. And that's what makes you, in my mind, that's what makes you special. Because not only are you a market expert, not only do you know more about the individual markets in Queens and Long Island than most of the other realtors I know, but you also have a big heart. And that manifests in the way you talk about your clients, the way you care for your clients. And it just comes through, a very strong, as I watch you deal with people.
Right. No, 100%. That's, if you don't care about people, you're in the wrong industry. It's just, yeah, you should go do something else. That's for sure. Maybe be a car salesman. I don't know.
Tell us a little bit about your team, because I know it's not just you.
No, it's not. For the longest time, it was myself, my partner, Craig Kaplan, Christina Cavallo, and we would have 1 or 2 assistants. And in the last I would say year, we've really expanded because, um, having that, delivering that customer service experience means you need to have a good operational team. So we have 4 assistants now, and they cover everything from our calls, emails, appointments. Just as an example, I'm on a call with you right now. If my phone were to ring, I'm not going to stop and pick it up. So someone else is picking up those calls and returning them. Um, and from the agent standpoint, there's a lot of agents out there that are looking for a mentor and or looking for a team, because when you get into this industry, getting licensed is easy, 77 hours, and that's it. The state says you're licensed, but that doesn't teach you how to deal with a client, how to work with a client, how to nurture a lead. And that's what we do. So people that work with us really learn how to do everything from the ground up and do it the right way. And anyone getting into the market now, they're in shock. Or if they've been in the market in the last year, if they got licensed in the last 2 years, they're not sure what's going on right now because they haven't had to have any skills. In the last 2 years, you put a sign in front of the house, you hosted an open house, you sold it. Now you actually have to call people, shockingly, develop relationships, nurture people, show value, and then have the knowledge to be able to answer questions. One of the biggest things that we've had recently is seller concessions are back. Most of these agents from the last few years don't know what a seller concession is. They don't know how interest rates buy downs work. I mean, there's a lot of things that they don't know and that they didn't have to know. It was either take it or leave it, is what they said to the client. I got plenty of offers backing up, whereas now they have to play nice. And it's been in the whole industry, right? Even on the lender side, they weren't, everyone was playing in their own kind of world because they could, but now we're all working together, and that's the way it should be. But so our team right now, we've added on, right now we're up to like a total, not excluding myself, about 11 agents, with myself 12, and they've all been really getting trained up on our systems and the way we work, how we interact with clients, and we coach them every day. It's not just, hey, you're coming to work with me and good luck, sink or swim. We're coaching them. We provide value. We have a monster mastermind call that we do in our fast forward movement at EXP. We have 800 agents around the country collaborating and growing. And I mean, I'm a testament to that. When I left Keller Williams in 2021, we sold 30 million in real estate, which one of the better agents out here, obviously. And last year we did 40,600,000. So we had about a 38% increase in a market that's supposedly down or flat. So it's learning. We're learning based, and we're not charging people to learn. You come on our team, you get the support, you get the leads, get the training, and they get to work with people like yourself so that they're learning, about the lending side, because so few lenders like to really educate realtors. And, that's a shame, because the more everyone is educated, the better experience they can give their client. So that's what we're all about, is delivering that customer experience.
Here's one. What's your superpower?
I think really mine is just being able to relate to people. I grew up in Queens. I went to public high school. I went to Bayside High School. I graduated from Queens College with a degree in accounting and a minor in economics. And then I went to work in finance. I worked on Wall Street. I was a VP at Bear Stearns at the end when it went under, but JP Morgan, and I was an associate director at UBS in Stanford. And, you really got to see how little people cared when you worked in that industry. And, growing up in a middle-class family, I mean, I'm the first college graduate in my family. So being able to relate to people at all different levels, and I can understand people and you can empathize with them, because most people buying in, whether it's Queens or Nassau County, they've never owned a home, and it's the biggest purchase they'll ever make. And they really need someone that can relate to them, can understand what it's like. And I mean, we do that. Everyone on my team can relate. I mean, we do have a lot of the higher end luxury properties, and that's a whole different ballgame. There, it's more of a, just, catering to their needs. But for overall, I'm able to relate to people. So, and I treat everyone with the utmost respect, and it's not another number to me, and that's why we have over 125 five-star reviews on Google and on Zillow. We really value everyone. And it's not just saying that. I mean, people come to our client events year after year, and we really treat everyone like community.
Yeah, I relate to that, because if you're going to work with me, at some point I'm going to say something to the effect, Marco, if you were my best friend, this is what I'd recommend. And so I think we'll cut out of the same cloth there. So if we were to take this down to 3 takeaways for someone buying a home right now in Nassau County, what 3 things would you want them to know today?
Number one is obviously being in constant contact with your lender. So the people that are working with you, making sure that they're constantly updating that pre-approval, because with the changing interest rate environment, they need to know what they can afford. The other thing is having their team lined up. It's not just working with a realtor or a licensed real estate agent. It's making sure your loan officer is, really knows what you're looking for and they're on your team. Having your home inspector lined up. So many people just wait till the last minute. You need to have everything lined up. And then, of course, the attorney. If you don't have everyone lined up, it just delays the process. So having your team ready to go is the most.
And by the way, when you say delays the process, well, because of the way we do business, if you don't have the team lined up, and let's say you make an offer and it's accepted on a Monday morning, if on Monday afternoon you start looking for an attorney and you wait till Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday till you have an attorney in place, by then, accepted offer or not accepted offer, they might move on to the next offer. So this is New York. You don't mess around. You got to be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100% on that one. So many times we work with, buyers, and they have this misconception that if we recommend someone that somehow we're in cahoots with them. And I explain to them, look, the reason I'm recommending certain people is because I've worked with them for years. You can reach them on their cell phone, even on a weekend. In the evening, if there's an emergency, if something's going on, you're going to be able to get a hold of that attorney. If it's a lender, it's someone that you're going to be able to get a hold of, or they have a team that you can get a hold of. It's not a 1-800 number. And with the home inspector, if you wait till the last minute and a good home inspector is booked up, you're going to take the cheapest option, and then you're going to regret it when you later find out, oh, this house actually does have termites. Or, oh, wow, that roof, it was missing a patch of shingles somewhere, and now I got a leak in my house. These are things that you need to make sure, because if you have your team lined up, the lender is going to explain to you what the process is like from the lending side and what you're going to need. The attorney is going to explain what their role is, and the home inspector is going to tell you what really they're looking for. They're not looking for a cracked tile or a loose tile or a broken, plate on a light switch. They're looking for the major things. They're going to explain what those things are. So that's why you need to have your team lined up. If you don't, you're really just doing yourself a disservice.
Great. This has been a pleasure, Marco. I really treasure the fact that you've given us the time. Again, we've been talking to Marco Gomez with EXP Realty. Marco is the master of Long Island real estate, and it can't recommend them highly enough. This is the Mortgage Made Easy podcast, and thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks, David. Pleasure's all mine.